What if I told you the Tower of Babel wasn't just about human arrogance, but something far more dangerous? What if it wasn't simply a tall structure reaching for the sky, but an ancient technology, a gateway, designed to pierce the veil between heaven and earth? And what if this act, seen as innocent or foolish by modern standards, was actually a reactivation of an ancient alliance between humans and divine beings that had once walked among us and were banished? This is not the Sunday school story you were taught, because what happened at Babel wasn't just a divine punishment. It was a divine intervention to stop something that could have changed the spiritual fabric of reality itself. Welcome to the place where we uncover the hidden, the forbidden, and the mysteries few dare to speak aloud. This is the deep dive into the unseen war behind the Tower of Babel, the truth they never taught you. Buckle up, like and subscribe, and let's tear back the veil. The common understanding of the Tower of Babel is simple. Mankind, in their arrogance, tried to build a tower to heaven. God saw this act of pride, confused their language, and scattered them. End of story, right? But beneath this well-known narrative is something darker, something ancient, something almost cosmic. You see, this wasn't the first time humanity tried to collaborate with divine beings, and it wouldn't be the last. To understand the hidden reality of Babel, we must look at the world that existed before the tower was ever conceived. A world still reeling from the aftermath of the Watchers, those fallen celestial beings from Genesis 6 who descended, took wives among men, and produced the Nephilim, monstrous giants that corrupted the earth. These beings taught mankind forbidden knowledge, metallurgy, enchantment, warcraft, opening doors that were never meant to be opened. The flood wiped out that abomination, but not the memory of it. After the flood, Noah's descendants multiplied. Civilizations began to reform, but within them lingered a dangerous curiosity, a desire to reclaim that lost connection with the celestial. And it's in this hunger for the supernatural, masked as progress, that we find the true motive behind Babel. They weren't just trying to reach the sky, they were trying to pierce through the dimensional veil and reconnect with powers they had once walked beside. The atmosphere around Babel was not just busy construction, it was charged. The people weren't just building a tower, they were performing a ritual, reviving symbols, architecture, and geometry that echoed ancient knowledge handed down from those forbidden beings. And here's where things get stranger. The original Hebrew doesn't simply say they were building a tall tower, it uses language suggesting a gateway, a ladder to the heavens, a ziggurat, often used in ancient Mesopotamian cultures as portals for gods to descend. This was not a skyscraper. This was a stargate. Now, let's go deeper. Genesis 11:4 says, "Come, let us build ourselves a city, with a tower that reaches to the heavens so that we may make a name for ourselves." But that phrase, reach to the heavens, is not metaphorical. It is a direct challenge to divine order. In Hebrew, heavens, shamayim, can refer both to the sky and the divine abode of God. They weren't just building upward, they were building into another realm. And then, Genesis 11:5 says, "But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building." Pause here. Why would an omniscient God need to come down to observe their activity? Unless this was no ordinary building project. What if this act triggered something? A divine response, not of curiosity, but of containment. The construction of the tower wasn't about height, it was about alignment. Think ley lines, sacred geometry, and energetic resonance. Some scholars suggest that the structure was tuned, like an instrument, to manipulate the fabric of reality. This is where the hidden mechanism lies. They were attempting to open a channel, a dimensional overlap, a spiritual wormhole between Earth and the celestial realm. And some believe they had help. Ancient texts, including the Book of Jubilees and other pseudepigrapha, hint at surviving Watchers or their offspring influencing post-flood humanity. Imagine it. Ancient whispers guiding men, instructing them on how to rebuild the old order. Entities that had once been cast out, now waiting to be summoned again. And this tower, Babel, was their invitation. This wasn't merely about pride, it was a reunion plan, and heaven knew it. So, in a stunning moment of divine intervention, God says, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them." What could possibly be so dangerous that it warranted divine confusion and dispersion? Not the tower itself, but what it activated. The silent presence around that tower was not just human, it was layered with watchers, both holy and fallen, witnessing a moment that could have reopened an ancient war. God's act of confusing their language wasn't punishment, it was containment, a divine firewall against an unauthorized breach. And here's the terrifying truth: they were close. The veil had begun to thin. The resonance had begun to hum. The unseen realm was responding, until heaven intervened. When the divine intervention struck, the confounding of language, it wasn't just a linguistic scramble. It was a spiritual severing. In a single moment, the symphony of unity turned to discord. The harmonics required to open that dimensional channel were fractured. The tower stood, perhaps still unfinished, but the power source had been disconnected. Unified intent. This was not just about stopping construction. It was about shutting down an energetic convergence that was gaining too much momentum. Imagine if they had succeeded. Would the realm of the divine have been forced open prematurely? Would the watchers locked away in Tartarus have found a crack to escape through? Would earth and the heavens have been fused again in a forbidden overlap? The implications are staggering. This was a moment when time could have bent, when reality could have been rewritten by fallen hands. But God, in His wisdom, scattered their languages, shattered their rhythm, and divided their frequencies. That's why cultures and civilizations afterward seem to mirror each other strangely. Think about it. Pyramids in Egypt, ziggurats in Mesopotamia, temples in Mesoamerica, all echoing the same architectural longing. They were all attempts to recreate what Babel almost accomplished. But the veil held. And that act at Babel had ripple effects we still feel today. From that day forward, humanity was dispersed, not just geographically but spiritually. The knowledge they had gathered from pre-flood contact was scattered like shards. Fragments of divine secrets buried in myth, symbols, and mystery schools, from Sumer to Babylon, from Egypt to the Mayans. Each trying to piece together the lost formula. Each whispering about sky gods, portals, and celestial mountains, but none fully succeeding, until now. Because today, as science plays with CERN and artificial intelligence dreams of singularity, we are nearing Babel again, not with bricks, but with bytes, not with towers, but with code, and the question remains, are we once again trying to breach the unseen realm? So, what do we take from this? The Tower of Babel wasn't just a tower, it was a cosmic attempt to override divine boundaries. A moment in history where mankind wasn't just rebellious, they were ambitious in a way that was spiritually lethal. What we see on the surface, a scattered people, a half-built structure, hides a terrifying truth underneath. We almost broke the universe open. But here's the lesson. Sometimes divine delays and divine no's are acts of mercy. What looks like confusion may actually be protection. What feels like a broken plan might be heaven's way of keeping you from opening doors not meant for you. You may feel like you're being scattered, that your plans are being torn apart. But what if it's because you're building a tower, unknowingly, toward a realm you're not ready to face? There is wisdom in restraint. There is safety in divine interruption. And sometimes, silence is the voice of heaven saying, "You don't see what's behind that door, but I do." So, the next time life feels confusing, fragmented, or scattered, remember Babel, not as a tale of punishment, but as a rescue mission, because heaven still moves even when all your bricks fall apart. If this exploration has opened your eyes to the hidden world behind the Tower of Babel, then I want to hear from you. What do you think mankind was really trying to unlock at Babel? And more importantly, are we trying to do it again? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries no one dares to explain. And next time, we'll explore another forbidden moment in history where divine beings intervened, but not with wrath, with fire and protection. Until then, stay curious, stay watchful, and remember, the unseen is more real than the seen.